Well, the Sports Editors is really grateful to have Eugene, or Loffie Eloff as he's better known, on the show. Loffie, great to have you. Great to talk rugby again, and can't wait to hear what you have to say about your career and how you see things, especially in the rugby world in South Africa. Lots on the go, lots of opinions. So it's really great to chat to you. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure, Ryan. It's actually great to chat to you, and I think you guys are doing a wonderful job in the world of sport in our country in a time we really need it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how things have changed, but yeah, maybe we can start off with that then. And I know COVID has done a lot of damage. We all know that, and probably people are sick of hearing COVID. But there could be one or two maybe positive things that have come out with rugby in South Africa from a COVID perspective. I know it might sound like a crazy question, but do you think there has been some positive that's come out through all of this craziness?
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing we must always remember, COVID, we were not the only people that were hampered by it, but most probably, if you look at the seasons, how they were, it had the biggest influence on us than the Northern Hemisphere and also Australia and New Zealand. To me, the one positive thing that came out of it is all of a sudden, the money baskets got emptier. Unions were battling financially to pay players to give big contracts. So I think the positive thing for me out of COVID is for maybe the top structure and management in rugby in South Africa to reassess the situation and look at our professional legs at the unions, maybe to make it a bit smaller and just improvise on it so that it's affordable, because the players are the assets of the union, but they were large numbers that were contracted at big numbers. So to me, the big positive thing that came out of it is most probably professional sides are going to be a bit smaller and most probably salary caps so they can be afforded.
Sure, that's going to be interesting. And it might even open up the game that much more. And, people have been not able to go to stadiums for such a long time. Maybe that whole feeling of wanting to be in a stadium again might encourage more people to go and visit or watch a game live, do you think? Or is there still some work to be done in that regard?
No, absolutely. The other positive swing that there can be is, what professional rugby did in our country, it killed club rugby. So the path. Look, and I'll always stay, and I'll stand to what I'm saying now. I think our schools rugby is so professional, and we one of the top countries. Our schools rugby are upstairs. They are there with the guys right on top. But what happens after that? Say a guy doesn't go to university, so he doesn't play. He doesn't play Varsity Cup where he can be seen, because that's a platform or pathway for players to be seen, or he doesn't get contracted by a union, whether it's a Premier Division or a First Division, doesn't get contracted. Anyway, the Premier of the First Divisions are mostly bankrupt in our country, so the contracts are less. So what their options are is to go abroad, and a lot of guys stop playing rugby. So I think we need to reassess the situation and maybe uplift club rugby again and give the guys a pathway. The guys that don't go study and get contracts, a pathway that they're also in contention to make it to a top side. To be honest with you as well, at 16 years of age, there are already talent identification. And I find it very interesting how they can identify talent at 16. I think those guys are necessarily going to make it in international rugby. I disagree with that. Because you get some guys that are late bloomers, So, but I think,
absolutely.
Rugby is a game for all shapes and sizes, and we need to accommodate everybody and at least give those boys a pathway as well that don't go to varsity and get contracted, that they have the opportunity to be seen, to maybe get picked up by a union and get a chance to play provincial rugby.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, in terms of numbers, you mentioned the schoolboy rugby there. There's a heap of schools that play rugby. I mean, there's so many schools that play rugby. So those numbers should be carrying on. Club rugby numbers should be full. And then you can pick and say, right, the provinces are full with the best of the best boys here. But like you say, if they just want to get picked at schoolboy and go straight to professional, well, it doesn't always work that way. Like you said, there's late bloomers. So yeah, lots of thinking to be done. And let's see what happens with the upcoming season, because if I'm not mistaken, if you look at the Currie Cup, it is sort of almost a replica of the Varsity Cup. If I'm saying that very respectfully, quite a lot of youngsters, but we want more of that, don't we?
Yes, so Ryan, as my passion are young players. Not that I don't like senior players. I've worked with senior players as well. I just know how important it is to nurture our young talent, and at that age, not lose them to play rugby. Let them still be intrigued by the game and enthusiastic by the game, and know that they will get opportunities to get great coaching, get up, to be in a system where they can improve their game and where they, as I said earlier, be seen. But you must also remember, we've got lots of numbers. Our country is filled with rugby players. We got thousands of rugby players, and there are 15 places in a team.
Yeah.
And a squad is 23 to 26. At the unions, I'm not too sure how big the professional side is, but I remember at the Lions, I think we were 38 contracted players, which is a small group. So what is going to happen to the rest? And how are we going to identify the late bloomers? So I really think the guys need to put their heads together and see how they can get a pathway, because a lot of guys just stop playing rugby. Fortunately, there's also the sevens that they can go into, and some go into coaching. I think more needs to go into refereeing, and there's also a pathway, and maybe technical analysis. So for the guy that's absolutely passionate about rugby, there is a few opportunities where they can still be involved, maybe, and get into a professional setup.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the beautiful thing about rugby. There's so many aspects to it. It's not just playing the game, like you mentioned. And maybe not maybe, there should be more awareness about it. Absolutely important. Yeah, it's an interesting point. But sorry.
Maybe an interesting thing that I can tell you now, you just got me thinking, is I remember when I just took over the senior side at the Lions, I think it was in 2006, July. I actually got two players out of club rugby. And the one became a world-famous Springbok, Skull Brits. I went to watch inter-varsity game between Marties and Tikkies, and there I saw Aaron Chabert for the first time, who eventually became my captain, and Skull Brits. And later as well, a guy that played for Tikkies, Gert Andries van der Merwe, who was a prop. So I went to these games to see what talent there was that I thought had potential, of course, with a limited budget. And it's so great to see a guy like Skull Brits, who actually went and he played in the World Cup, and he fulfilled his dream, and Aaron's as well. And, and there are a lot of those guys out there. We need to pick them up.
Yeah, no, two great names. I mean, Ansman did so well with the Saracens, and Skull Brits. I mean, we don't need to say much more. So yeah, brilliant, well done. It shows that it works. It can be done. That's what I'm trying to say. Excellent.
Well, sometimes limited budget forces you to do that.
Yeah.
But I just love. I also want to come back to what you said about the Currie Cup. That, as we call it in Afrikaans, 'n bietjie afgewater. You know what? I've always thought that we should use the Currie Cup to make it the next level for our junior players coming out of under 21. So as you know, the under 19 leagues a while back was taken away, and under 21 was taken away, and the guys only had the under 20 league. And going from under 20 to senior rugby is a huge jump. So I like it if you have a system where there's under 90s that can be evaluated, under 21s that can be evaluated, and then under 23. And what I like about the Currie Cup, besides the small unions that, especially when the Springboks are playing, a small union that gets a chance to play against these guys when they're a little bit weaker, that's where you see the raw talent. A guy that Burger, the scrum half of Griekos, that is picked up by Jacob at the Bulls and so on. And that is the pathway for them. So I enjoy the Currie Cup. There's a lot of criticism on social media about it's bad rugby. It's not, we're far behind. And some of it was probably is true, but also see that is also the opportunity for a young boy that nobody knows, who comes on the scene, Evan Ruiz, who I think is currently the best 8th man in our country.
Yeah, well, there we go. You see, so there we go. Because now I wanted to ask about the Lions, but I'm going to come back to that because you said something so true. And I mean, if you look at the Currie Cup, they've been high-scoring games. So something's happening, something's happening. But are we not, as South Africans, perhaps too judgmental or too critical of of rugby. Yes, I know there's things that need to be fixed. We know that things need to be fixed. Don't get me wrong, I understand that. But I just think like now, are we expecting too much? They want the Currie Cup to be this glamorous exhibition of rugby every weekend. It's not possible to do that. Are we too expectant as a nation of what rugby should be?
Ryan, I don't think it stops with rugby. I think it's in our DNA.
Right.
I think we love winning, and we love winning well. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Unfortunately, social media has made it an open platform for everybody to give their point of view. And, it's like spreading rumors sometimes. I don't think a lot of people know how tough it is running a union and keeping everybody happy. Because at the end of the day, that union must also make money. But South African people, we love winners, and if we win, everybody's happy. If you lose, if we win, it's the players. If we lose, it's the coach. And once you lose a few matches, people want change. We are not patient to see this little embryo grow and develop into this wonderful rugby system and play. We want immediate gratification and winning. It doesn't happen overnight. Yes, if you've got a big budget, you can contract players and immediately be in content for the captain on top. But if you really go look at what some of the unions are doing, they're recruiting the youngsters, bringing them into the junior systems and taking them through. And trust me, to make that a successful team doesn't happen overnight. But the supporters don't always see that. And in a way, sometimes the sponsors also, they want immediate success. Which is understandable. It's a business. So it's about strategic planning, and it's about setting goals that are realistic for the coaches to achieve and the players, and then to give them the best coaching, the coaches giving the best tools and mechanisms and budgets and systems around them to be able to achieve their goals. And I'm also a strong believer that we've got a lot of young coaches coming through, and that blade is over their heads. To get a senior guy to mentor them, just get a senior guy that has been through the mill. And I'm not hinting for a job, I've done it. I just think those youngsters, it just seems to me that sometimes they get thrown into this spot and they must just go for it. I remember that in my career, Ryan, I coached 10 years amateurs. I started at primary school, high school, university, before I started coaching back again under 21, under 19, and then only up to the seniors. So, and that it was 10 years amateur, and then 20 years professional. So it takes time. It also takes time to build that culture, a union, and getting all systems go. So we are just impatient. But the big thing is we hate losing, and also we cannot start now saying it's okay to lose. That the new theory of everybody is winners, that is bull dust. If 10 kids run in a race, all 10 can't get certificates for attendance. You get a first, a second, and third, and that should inspire the other 7 to go for that gold, to work at it. So we must not be shy to give credit to those that should get it, and to help the others maybe to achieve it if they've got the genetics to do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, very, very good angles there. I enjoy that, Loffie. Very good. But, South Africa's won the World Cup 2019. Lots of expectation. Really good squad. I think there's a squad there that's full of talent. Really, those guys are really good. But are we in a good space? How do you see us doing for the rest of the year, especially with the fact that we have to travel away and play Australia and New Zealand later in the year as well?
I think when any player puts a Springbok jersey over his head, he goes into a next level of pride, proudness, and willing to put his body on the line for the country. I just want to go back to what we started talking about, how COVID affected us, etc. I think it was the best thing that could have happened to us winning the World Cup in 2019. And all credit to Rossi and to the team and everybody. It was fantastic. But that's history. and we cannot dwell on it. It just fell to me because we didn't have rugby in all that period that we stood still and we just, and especially in the media itself, it was just sort of the whole time, we are the world champs. That's a fact. Nobody can ever take that away. But it feels maybe that we stagnated a bit and thought we can do what we did then and it will still have the results. But I promise you, we've got the players, we've got the management, everything is in place. Again, we must be patient. And let's go through this British and Irish Lions phase, and by that time, I'm pretty sure we will be a well-oiled machine and be competitive. I must also tell you that the All Blacks have changed their style of playing.
Yeah,
they better conditioned. They play a quicker game. They don't put up too much pods anymore. They have once-off runners offloading before contact and after contact. But they keep the ball alive. So they've changed their style. And if you look at the current rugby that we've been watching for the past a few months, they look like the team that is going to be difficult to beat now going into this competition. And don't take Australia away. Dave Rennie has done a wonderful work with him. And what is instilled there is game discipline. All of a sudden, there's discipline in the team. Okay, I see you just included Quade Cooper. That's to have an X. That's most probably to have that X factor player in his team, and every team has got that guy. That guy that he's got that magic. Willie Leroux's got that magic. Henri Pretorius had that magic. Brian Abana had just that X factor that we will bring in, and Dave Rennie. So I think that's going to be a fantastic competition, and it's going to be tough, and we can travel, man. We've also proved. The history has proven that we can also travel. That's also, a myth that we don't travel well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Interesting. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. But do New Zealand sort of set the trend for the new brand of rugby, and do other countries follow? Or do countries just sort of feel and play how they is right? Or are New Zealand really the thinkers of rugby? Because their game has changed. I agree with you. Flat out, their game has changed. Are people or other teams going to follow that trend as well?
Well, at the end of the day, 20 athletes, they can have an expensive, quick game. Our strength has always been our forwards and our power play, and which kept us in the game with the mauls and the driving and so on. But the speed of the game now has evolved. And to answer your question, yes, New Zealand, everybody loves New Zealand. The All Blacks, the hockey, everything. And there's this aura around it. But they are beatable. We don't need to, us as a nation, a rugby nation, should not focus on what they are doing to maybe to copy that. We should go look what we do different. And I remember going to the World Cup with the junior box in 2003. South Africa was not winning that competition. We were actually battling a bit in it. And going into it, everybody said, New Zealand, they dominate in front, and their physicality, and then they overwhelm you, and then they start running. So our goal was to take them on in their own game, and we scrummed them, and we actually physically took them on, and we turned them around, and fortunately we won that game. So in that way, we were the trendsetters, but that was the athletes, the Bismarck, du Plessis, and those guys were there, so we had them. So it's easy to say we should change and do this, but it should be compatible with the quality and the players' abilities. We got speed. I mean, we've got two of the fastest and most best wings in the world.
Yeah,
and they're not getting ball from set phase. They're not getting a OT ball from a line out or from a scrum, just a set move. And I would love to see them in space, and not only from turnover ball or broken play or kick chase sort of. And I think that's what everybody wants to see. At the end of the day, if you win, it doesn't matter how it is. You want to win, but it's also great to win it spectacularly with tries.
Yeah. No, for sure. We'd love to see our wingers making the most of it and doing what they're capable of doing. They can really set a game alight. That's true. But you talking about winning World Cups and things like that, you've won 2 Junior World Cups in South Africa. I don't know too many people have done that. Success is part of your coaching makeup, isn't it?
I've been lucky, man. But it's actually so funny. I forgot about it. We should have won. We should have won 3 in a row. And the second one, the second one when we came third. Luckily, we beat England for the third position. But they say if you come third, it's like kissing your sister. So in the match against New Zealand, we actually by accident I played PSP's wing. He was phenomenal. And against France, he broke his arm, and France beat us that day. So we played against New Zealand, and we were ahead. And actually, Alwyn Hollenbach, I saw on social media a few days ago, reminded me of that, where they scored a try. That was not a try. The guy dropped the ball, but there was no TMOs. So, and then New Zealand beat France with 60 points in the final. So, yeah, that's the one we missed. But, a coach, it's not about me as a coach or you as a coach. It's a coach that can get those players, his squad, to get the best out of them, for the guys to play above their ability, play for each other, play for the country, and play for the coaches and so on. It's about respect and trust that they have, and So if you get that right, half of the fight is won. A lot of coaches really put in hard work. They put in the effort and they really coach the boys well. And that magic's just not happening. And I always say, just before you start coaching, create that environment for your players where they enjoy to work in or to be coached in. And secondly, the most important of all is build a relationship of trust and respect for each other, vice versa. Once that is in place, then it's as if it's easier to work with the boys, and it was that first one in 2003. Paul Delport was the captain, and nobody gave us a chance. I think we had a 10% chance, according to the media and so on. And then in 2005, with Alistair Hargreaves again against New Zealand, they had a young boy in, I think he was standard 9, Francis Steyn, who dropped from the halfway line. So you can. It's like a chef. You can take 2 chefs and give them each the same ingredients. I say, right, cook up a storm. The one's food's going to be great, the other one's going to be less great. But a coach is just a facilitator that needs to have a strategic mind and apply that in a tactical way to get the best out of every player. And as I said again, the years everybody wanted to play like the Brumbies, they didn't have the athletes to play like the Brumbies. The Brumbies have those athletes. So to the young coaches, just go check what your strengths are, who your runners are, who your carriers are, your X-factor players, and build around that. And your leaders. Very important thing. In the years we did well, a lot of head boys, vice head boys.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean the other guys were not good at their leadership on the field. Played a big role. And I think that might be something that's lacking now in rugby. That we just appointing guys as leaders that is not necessarily equipped to do it.
Yeah, sure. That's interesting. Because I see that they've also picked the SA under 18 side as well. It's going to be interesting to see how they do, where they end up going. I'm actually not too sure where they're going, who they're going to be playing. But yeah, I hope that filters through, because that's what I was going to ask you as well. Really good under 20 setup. You've done well. Now they've got the SA under 18 guys. I hope that we see those guys going on and maybe not necessarily playing for South Africa, but contributing to the game. Playing professionally, not just stopping at SA 18 and saying, I'm done. Hopefully we can hear more stories of what you said, of like guys just going on and winning, and we keep that trend going, because winning is a bit of a culture. I know it's in our culture, but winning is a culture, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a habit, but so is losing. It can become a habit. So the under 18s, I'm so glad they picked that squad. I'm so happy, and I know a lot of people say, yes, but how could they pick them with no rugby? They've picked them on years of schools rugby and so on, and what the guys did in their tests. I'm happy, and I'm happy for the boys after 2 difficult years that they're getting an opportunity. They're going to Georgia. Now, Georgia is not going to test us. They didn't test us when they were here, and they're not going to test us. But the guys are going to get the experience to tour and to play international rugby. I think also to be realistic, the Northern Hemisphere have been dominating the Junior World Cups, and France junior rugby has made a step up. England is up there. We've actually taken a little bit of a dip. but those competitions is like a once-off, you in or out. And then
true.
New Zealand also took a dip at those competitions. So we need to re-establish our power in those junior international competitions. And I think because of the success France had in those competitions, they most probably will be the team for the World Cup in 2023 in France. They will be the danger team. Is it 2023?
Correct.
I think so, yes.
It's around they will.
The scary part is, and that brings me back what I said quite early in our chat, is that of those few years that I've been involved with the junior rugby, SA Junior Under-19s, winning the World Cup twice and then a third once, and then once we were not in contention. Of those, and not a lot of players became Springboks. I can actually point them out on my one hand. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to become Boks. But one or other way, and I think because there again, because a vast amount of players we have all on that level. And the interesting thing is you get a lot of natural, brilliant players, and they just keep on doing their thing, always in the team, always in the leaderships, and that's why I inspire young boys that are not most probably favorites or that top natural athlete to work hard. It's actually interesting to see how they pass them just by hard work and dedication, determination, discipline, and desire. How badly do you want it? So New Zealand that have got a smaller group of players. I actually went through the list a few months ago. About 80% of their juniors become senior All Blacks.
Sure.
So if you take that in comparison.
Wow. Okay. Well, they're doing something that works, and we all know it works for New Zealand. So yeah.
But I think it's the fact that they've got less resources and less players to pick from. True. So they have to bring them through the system. Look, there's no doubt that their system does work well for them. Also, the system of their coaches, coming from junior level, Steve Hansen, Dave Rennie, all those guys, coaching junior All Blacks, then going up to the seniors. The system works for them. And what they do very well is they share. So their top coaches at the franchises, from the director of rugby at New Zealand, they share all the information and the latest trends, and they share a lot. I think we can also pick up on that.
Definitely. Yeah. Sharing information is very important. And yeah, it will strengthen us, definitely. But maybe you could shed some light on the lines at the moment. And Loffie, I mean, like you mentioned, you coached there. And at one stage, they were and I still think they're one of the strongest franchises in South Africa. But they were in Super Rugby finals and dominating in the Currie Cup. But things aren't quite what they should be at the moment. What's happened there, do you feel? What's gone a bit wrong?
Yeah, I think, again, in perspective, you cannot always be on top. You lose players, they get older, they finish. You need to have a continuity plan of young players come through. And unfortunately, when the next generation of players come through, it takes a while. It took, I think, 8 years to build the Lions up to that franchise where they played in, I think, nearly 8 to 10 years, where they played in the Super Rugby finals and won the Currie Cup and so on. Unfortunately, we lost the Currie Cup in injury time in 2007 against the Cheetahs in Bloemfontein. So it takes time to build up. And, the first thing, you have to always, apples with apples. Currently, the two wealthiest unions, it seems, in our country are the Bulls and the Sharks. And you must give them credit for their business sense that they've brought into it. It seems like Western Province missed out on that one opportunity. One will never know. And I must be honest with you, I don't know. But if you don't have budget, then you've got a problem. And you must always go look at the amount of Springbok players that are contracted at a union versus another one. And I think the Lions are in a rebuilding phase of players. They've got some great young players coming through. They've got a young coaching staff that's coming through. And again, coming back, maybe they need Rudolf Strauly must probably can take on that role of director of rugby to to lead the young coaches, and from experience, it's a tough life. I actually wrote an article many years ago, The Lonely Life of a Head Coach, because it becomes lonely.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And if you say it's one of my, I'm a Lion. I grew up in Johannesburg, so I'm a born Lion. I played there and I coached there, and that's my place. Always be my place. Johannesburg per se is not the easiest place to recruit players to come to. It is just not. And secondly, you need the budget to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it seems like the budget is not there to get the players that they want in certain strategic positions, and that's what Jake has done at the Bulls, and that's intelligent. I know a lot of people say they just buy in, but mate, if your job is on the line and your province's sponsors are on the line, you buy and you get the best to be the best. And that's what professional rugby is about. If the smaller unions cry about losing players, I had to sit and listen to Brian Abana saying that he's leaving for the Bulls, Wikus Barrieren leaving to the Bulls, Joe van Niekerk leaving to the Bulls, and we could not compare the salaries. And that is Jacques Fourie, and that is what a professional sport is about. You don't cry. You played a big part in their lives, and it's about who's got the biggest coffer with money, so that you can buy the best players. But I do think the Lions are in a building up phase. And one of the things also, I will never criticize coaches or management. Not that I'm afraid to do it. It's just I've been there, and I know how tough it is when, there's an old saying, when a guy's down, you don't kick him. You take him by the hand and you help him reinvent himself. And I think it's just a question of time, and they'll be back where they are. But it's not going to happen overnight. No. And I'm not even talking about Western Province, where I live now. They're going through the same problem. They've still got some top players. So the interesting thing is, in my time when I coached the Lions, we had 2 Springboks, actually 3 at the most, but 2. And that was Andre Pretorius and Jacques Fourie. And when you play against the Bulls, they got 13 Springboks. Play against the Sharks, they got 10 Springboks. Play against the Blues, they got 14 All Blacks. Play against the Brumbies, they got 12 Wallabies. So that's what I mean with the apples and apples. And, I know there was a David and Goliath fight before our time, and the small one beat the big one, but you have to be realistic in rugby. You have to, the guys must be in par.
Yeah, again, it's so interesting because there again, like, we see the Lions do well, and we want them to do well again next season because, we want to see that great rugby. And, it was exciting. And it is exciting watching the derby when the Lions play the Bulls. It's a fantastic derby. Yeah. But again, you see how quickly we get to point fingers and say, they must win. Anyway.
But that again comes from our DNA. We just want to win. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I must tell you, the Lions supporters, even from my time, and I don't want to bring that up the whole time, are the most loyal supporters you get. They are just loyal through thick and thin. Here and there, you'll get the odd guy that will throw his toys out of the cot. But that's what support is about. Again, coming back to communication, I think that one should also have open communication line with your supporters and tell them what's going on, what's not going on. That's one thing I learned from the military long before your time, Ryan, that, the generals make the decision and the lieutenants on the floor got no idea why they did it, how they did it, and what they want to achieve with it. So information is a very, very important thing to go right down to bottom level. And that's why coaches also need to be on the ground with the players.
Sure. Very true. Very, very true. But then again, slightly different topic here, although it's still rugby, but it's sevens rugby. Loffie, I just want to get your opinion here. And it was a bit upsetting to see us get knocked out of the Olympics when we really thought we're gonna get a medal here. We should get a medal. And we lose to Argentina with 6 men on the field. Unconditional support, where do we draw the line? Because, you'll watch these guys, they'll bounce back and they'll probably win the next 10 competitions that are when the Sevens League kicks up again. But at a big event like that, how do we handle that? How do we say, I mean, goodness me, you want to get a medal at the Olympics, surely?
Yeah, the country is disappointed. We expected more, but that expectation, those players, players are humans, and they read in the media. They read in the media that South Africa should be very close to gold, and we've got the team, and this is the year, and all that. And rugby is a funny game. On any given day, any team can lose against a strong side, can lose against a weak side. And, going to that game when we lost, regardless, everybody says it's because because Neil was ill, or we had to coach via Zoom, and the players don't look conditioned. Everything is said, but I mean, those players were well prepared. They were there. It just didn't happen for them. And I guess what they will do now is go sit down and say, right, where did we go wrong? Is it the conditioning? Is it our game? Is it our players? Is it our structures? That's what they will do. And there are a lot of guys that have been identified individual sport to get gold that are gone, that are not even in the bronze. That is sport. It's not a thing it's not a computer where you can set up a thing and you're going to get that result. It's humans that you're working with. There are a lot of factors that are taken in consideration. To me, it's just disappointing, and it would have been great for our country and for the team, for their hard work throughout the years, that they get a medal. And it didn't happen. It's not the end of the world. Nobody died. Our egos will be okay. And we'll be back, as you said.
Yeah, watch those guys win championship after championship, when that Sevens tournament kicks again. They're good. They're really good. So yeah, it's just something we had to experience, I guess. And life is full of lessons. So this is a lesson we had to learn, and we carry on with it. So yeah, interesting times. But Loffie, I believe you got some skills there. You can also play the guitar, can't you?
Oh no, I can play a little bit. I don't know where you heard that, but yeah. So I grew up in Edenvale, which is in Oosrand, and I played guitar since I was 10. I had a garage band, so yeah, my music was always part of my life, and I think that is my stress reliever, and was also sometimes it's just lucky to take your guitar and play rock and roll. I was born in the late 50s, so I come from the hippie era and the rock and roll era. I never smoked anything, and I never drank never took drugs, but they taught me to drink Brahman and Coke, so which actually that went well with the music we played in those years. I'm talking about my young student years at RAU.
No, here we go. Now everyone's got a story to them, so it's good to hear a bit of yours there. That's good. But one skill of yours as well, Loffie, is that you're always prepared to, help out as much as you can, go around assisting people, growing their skills, and that's part of the rugby culture as well, isn't it? Going there, helping where you can.
Yeah, I think one thing that if you've been there and you've got a passion for that, you must give back. A lot of people say we must give back. It's easy to talk it, but to me, of my 31 years experience, I feel I've got a lot that I can give back to players making decisions, to young coaches. So I don't force myself on anyone, but if I get calls from parents or from a coach or from a player, I take it. And if I can give him one word that inspires him or gives him hope or maybe redirects him, then I've achieved my goal. So yeah, and my passion is the youth, because with everything that happened in our country with COVID and so on, it's taken a lot of that zest of the young boys, not being and girls, not playing sport, which was their outlet, and all of a sudden they are demoted. A lot of depression in the youth has never been there. So I think if you've been in a position where you've had experiences and life lessons, and you can give something back that can help any individual, become a better person or maybe guide him or whatever, do it. So I've actually had an 18-year military career as well. So I've been around the block to be able sometimes to have good judgment. But I'll also tell you that I've had some bad judgment as well. That's part of the learning in life. The big thing is if you bump your head or you're down, don't quit. Just go again. My philosophy was based on the 5 L's. And the last L is actually a funny story. It's love. I get the players to love each other and care for each other, and the management. Learn. Be hungry to learn. And Brian Abana will tell you he had to go research Brian O'Driscoll. Labor. What you sow, you will reap. Nothing comes cheap. There's no shortcut in life. Work hard. You will be laughter. The professional job environment is so tough, that precious. So the laughter is gone, the humor is gone because I have to keep my job. We're losing. How are we going to change that? Humor is gone, the laughter is gone. Sure. And then leave. I was fired on a lamppost on my way to Ellis Park to prepare the guys for the break. And I never had remorse about that. And there, for the first time in my life, I actually understood the last L, leave. And that's what I want to also tell you, Ryan. When you get in life, when you get to a crossroads or to this mountain that you think you cannot climb over, just change direction and go again. And that's fortunately, and that opens new horizons and opportunities. Like in my sense, coming from the Lions, always is my franchise. They gave me the opportunity. The late Dr. Late, who I had so much respect for, gave me the opportunity to coach there. And because of that, I got the opportunity to coach the baby box. So that was fantastic. And then from there, I came to Boerland to coach. And then I went to America to coach there. So it's been good for me, and I'm turning 64 in October. It's time for me to, as older coaches, should take from that IQ that we have and EQ and all the Qs you have, and just, take it over to the next generation of coaches. You don't want their jobs. You don't want them to step in the same pitfalls that you have, maybe, because of loyalty and because of what you believe in.
No, for sure. No, excellent, Loffie. No, you make so much sense there, and it's excellent. Yeah, and it's good that you are giving back, like you mentioned. Yeah, and it is amazing what the lessons we do learn through rugby, through meeting people, but it's a willingness to learn. I think that's so important. Maybe not everyone wants to adjust to it just yet, but I think as people are moving on in day and age, it's becoming more of a realization, hey, change your strategy a bit here or there. So yeah, it makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Be adaptable, be flexible.
Yeah, no, for sure. But Loffie, as we sort of draw towards an end, I know you said that you're not coaching anymore, but you must be keeping yourself busy with one or two things.
Yes, I've actually two months before COVID popped out of the blue, I started a company called Elite Sport Mentorship, mentoring coaches and players. And the whole idea was to bring teams from America because I think the youth needs to be educated, bring them from America, South, North America, Europe, and they come on like on a 14 days high performance course where they play games, schoolboys, I'm talking about under 14, under 16, under 18, where they play 3 matches. And, if it's a school if it's not a strong school, I won't let them play against Gim or Paul Boys or what those schools. I'll go to the Platland and let them play in Bredasdorp or Moreesburg, one of those teams. And that was the whole plan that we had. And then also I'm mentoring 2 international coaches. And I did a fantastic project. I'm actually still busy with it at Currie Longabon, where we're trying to instill a rugby culture. But it's actually more just a culture of enjoying what you do. Because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you shouldn't do it. And it was fantastic. Unfortunately, again, we were hampered. The team started off kicking off with 2 wins where teams that in the past that they couldn't win. So I'm busy with that. And as I said, daily I try and be involved as I can. We try and keep our social media alive with realistic information. I've also got a good relationship with Jan de Koning at Rugby 365, and we also talk rugby often over coffee. And Yes, and I'll never go out of the sport in the sense that if I can help someone, I will keep on doing it.
Excellent. Well, I think they're very lucky to have you and get your experience and partake of that and get more involved and see what life is all about. And yeah, I mean, that must be such a good experience. It's awesome. You Loffie, keep going. And yeah, I think you're going to change many people's lives in that regard. So it's excellent. Well done. Good stuff.
No, thank you very much. It was great chatting to you, man.
No, thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure. And let's hope the Bokke do it this weekend.
We need to. We need to, but yeah, I think it's going to be tough. But I think, I mean, geez, I haven't coached at your level. I think Jacques has also got more. He's looking further ahead. I think he's also got plans ahead, like you mentioned. Example of the Lions. I mean, this is a great occasion. I'm sure he wants to win it, but also I think he's also bringing his sort of approach to coaching. Yeah, and I think it's momentum. Well, let's see how Saturday goes. You never know.
Yeah, I think every coach, when he starts a new episode in his life, he wants to start with a win.
Yes.
But if you kick off after COVID against the British and Irish Lions, who are still upset with us because we won the World Cup, you must know they're coming for us. But we'll be coming for them. It's in our DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, my man.
You take care, eh?